Ladies and gentlemen, da, 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 da. You know what, guys? For me, I've always thought to myself, if I do this or I do that, I'll get better places, or it'll bring back. I've always wanted to be in a position where the things that used to bother me or the people that used to treat me badly, not that I was treated that badly, but in general, sometimes you get mistreated or people bother you sometimes, right? So you always want to be famous because you think, oh, if I get this fame, people can't treat me bad and people will be so friendly and I'll get what I want, which is true, right? To some extent, not always. And so you think, hey, that's true, I'll get what I want, and finally I can move on and live my life the way I want. Now, that's great and all, but the more you do actually get famous, and the more you do actually get subscribers, and the more you do actually do well, and the more you see other people struggling and not doing so well, you feel a different way. You don't feel as much negativity. You don't feel as much, oh, I gotta outshine this person because they treated me like garbage when I was young or whatever, right? You don't feel as much like doing that because you're starting to be successful and you really know the work that it takes, you know the kind of life you want to lead, and you know you're getting there. Like when you see, I think there was a video on Jim Carrey. I think he talked about how he wished that everybody was famous so that they can see what it's like, so that they wouldn't judge or feel like it's, feel like, I don't know what he was saying because I didn't watch the video, but that was the title, something like that. So, this is what I'm guessing what he would have said, but you would feel like, oh, like people that are poor, very, very poor, they're obviously upset that somebody's rich, right? So they'll make comments or they won't be too happy or whatever. But, if you are somebody that's poor and all of a sudden you're really rich, those things are thrown out the window. You don't feel that way anymore. You wouldn't, no poor person, like the difference between rich people and poor people, in some senses, like there's many differences, but a rich person knows how much their money is and knows how much they're worth and knows what they do is worth money and feels good and doesn't worry about it. But there's other problems that come along with it, or they know that people that are poor are going to say something and they don't, like, it's upsetting. Why would you want someone that's poor to make negative comments about you just because you're rich? They don't understand that not everybody that's rich has a perfect life, right? And everybody that lives is a human. They're fragile to some extent. Most people are not that vulnerable, but there's vulnerabilities, and you can be very, very strong with some vulnerabilities. But, in general, you can be the strongest person ever, but there's things that go on in your life as a rich person that go on in the same way that a poor person experiences, right? But poor people don't understand that. Like for me, growing up, I had always been, like I had done fast food jobs, and I had done, I had worked at a fast food place, and I've done, jobs where they're not demeaning, but they're low pay, and they're not high pay, and you just feel like, well, even my job now is not high pay, but you just feel like, all these things that you've done, you felt like, because I had people in my family that were doing better than me, not so well. They're not rich or anything, but they're not doing that well, but they're doing better than I was, right? So I was like, well, I was always upset with them, and I was always like, why? Why do you have this and I don't? And they didn't have much, but it was like I would be like, why do you have this and that? And it wasn't much of anything, but I'm super poor. Like I'm working at a fast food joint, right? So you just treat them a certain way, and you don't realize that until later when you're starting to be successful and you see people treating you that way, and you realize, oh, that's what I was doing, or when I worked in fast food, I was never, understanding of the rich person, or I always thought rich people had everything. But the more closer I get to being that rich celebrity type, the more I'm like, well, life is the same. You don't feel any different, and I'm not there yet. When I'm there, though, I'm realizing that, you need things to get through the day. You need to be encouraged. You need to go through life and have hobbies. You need to do things you like. You need to be happy, So when you do all these things and you finally realize what it's like to be rich, you think, why did I say that to that rich person? Not my family. My family's not rich at all, but but that I would say something to someone that was rich and I'd be like, oh, well, you have this, you know? And it's like, well, and this is when I was very, very young, not now. I know my channel's going to do well, so I don't do that. But, you know, I might have been like, you know, you got that or whatever, you know? And it wasn't like that very much, but I was like that enough. I wasn't like that at all, really. I was kind of like, but I had the subtle things. Like, it'd be like, I'd give them the silent treatment or I'd do whatever, you know? And it wasn't like they didn't even do anything. They just had more money or whatever, and I never thought I'd get there. So I thought, what do they care? You know, they got all this money or whatever, right? Or I'd say something about whatever, and I knew deep down that I never thought I'd get there. Now that I'm getting there, I realize that we're all the same, and people that are rich and poor there's no difference, right? But you don't notice that until you're getting there and you realize, hey, you know, life is short for everyone. I'm going to live a long life, but it's short for everyone, and we all need to have things we enjoy. We all need love. We all need to be treated well. We all need less hate comments. We all need to feel good, even though I'm supportive of the haters. I don't believe anything that they say is really bad, because they might be in a bad spot. But you know what I mean? So you might think, oh, and you can always compare to someone that's doing better. You can always say someone's doing better, or feel like you're doing so little compared to them. Even if you're doing really, really well. Like Michael Jackson, for instance. He was probably, not to say that he was a virgin, I don't know, but they said that he was, right? So maybe he was a virgin all of his life, you know? I've dated tons. I never had plastic surgery to change my face and lose my nose, right? So, you know, even though he was hugely famous and doing very, very well, his life was very, very difficult, right? And he lost his hair. He had a bald patch on his head, so he had to wear wigs because of a fire in one of his concerts. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to take your blessings, whether you're rich or poor, and realize that not every rich person is living an immaculate, crazy party life, right? Anyway, totally enjoy, or like a happy life. They might not even be doing well at all. Maybe they're not healthy. Maybe they have HIV. Maybe they, you know, you have to really take your blessings, whether you're rich or poor, and deal with your issues, whether you're rich or poor, and recognize that rich or poor is the same thing. People are all the same, all right? Well, not all, they're all unique. You know what I mean, but